Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. I offer you greetings from scenic, lovely Bristol, Connecticut. I'm up here for a couple days. Me and my man Pablo going to do First Take tomorrow and Thursday. And I just want to make a couple of observations here. Number one, I don't know who's listening right now. My understanding is they play ESPN Radio on hold when you call the office here. So maybe the person I'm looking for is, listening to this as they wait to get in touch with somebody else. But who in charge of the Pandora station that y'all got that plays when you walking across the campus? Because I was walking out there and I heard something like Walking in Memphis or one of them jams. And then I came back out and I was like, this girl is on fire. And I was like, hey, can I run the Pandora station? Like, there has to be somebody's job here, right? Whose job it is to run the Pandora station that plays. I nominate me. I think it'll improve workplace morale. The other thing that'll improve workplace morale is y'all put my picture back up over here at ESPN Radio. So I'm here and I'm walking around and they got this new poster up of Carrie Champion on the wall for her podcast, Be Honest. And somebody's like, yeah, something's different. They put that up here. I can't figure out what poster they took down. It was mine. Right, like there was a big old poster of me. I was in a suit, had my arms folded. Some of y'all say I look like a deacon, whatever it was. I felt like I was looking fly. My poster is down. Sedano don't even work over here anymore. He's in L.A. Sedano still has a poster. Like, what is the level of disrespect that y'all been treating me with around here since I left? What are you telling me? People would rather look at a poster of Carrie Champion than me? Because I'm not so sure about that myself. Anyway, these are the things that I learned when I come to Bristol, Connecticut after I've not been here for a while. Of course, when I made this trip, Kyrie Irving continued to be the story of the day. Had an observation about this with Kyrie. I was talking to my man Jay, lives in Wichita, and he made a great point about why Kyrie has to be traded before the season starts, no matter what. The Cavs are a bunch of LeBron's friends. Like, we could have an argument about whether or not LeBron is actually in charge or whatever it is, but, like, basically it's a squad full of LeBron's friends. Tristan Thompson, that's LeBron's friend. J.R. Smith, that's LeBron's friend. I mean, quite honestly, anybody that wants to stick around there, if they're not LeBron's friend, they're probably trying to be LeBron's friend. Kevin Love, I don't know if he is LeBron's friend, but I think he's demonstrated that he would like to be quite often throughout this time. Kyrie, the one dude that's trying to jump off the ship. Kyrie going to be getting on the bus, like riding from the hotel. There'll be a whole lot of Forrest Gump. Siege taken. Like, there's no real corner in the locker room for you to hang out in if you are Kyrie Irving and you have made this decision as you have made it, like now that it's out here. He can't come back. Now, we know that Kyrie wants to be out of there because it was reported by our good folks at ESPN. I believe it was McMenamin, it was Shelburne, and it was Windhurst. They got that one out there. Now, we had Brian on yesterday, and I tried to ask him, like, so how does LeBron feel about this? And I think I mentioned in the context of it being said that Kyrie thinks LeBron put it out there, and Brian never really, answered my question. He got a little bit, he wasn't really trying to hear this about, wondering who the source was. I really didn't care. I was just kind of curious as to how LeBron felt after all of this has happened. LeBron went on the Twitter to explain to us how he felt about a lot of these things. He says that the idea that he wants to give Kyrie the fade is not facts. He had another one he said was not facts, or that he's eager for Kyrie to be traded. He also said that was not facts, which is a half step away from fake news. I don't know if he was trying to avoid that term in particular, but a half step away from fake news. And LeBron is adamant. No, he says that he did not do this. He is not the one who said that Kyrie has to go. He said he does not want to give Kyrie the fade. And when he retweeted this about the idea that he might want to give Kyrie the fade, it was retweeting a tweet that specifically mentioned something that Stephen A. Smith had said about LeBron wanting to give Kyrie the fade, right? Basically, so LeBron is saying that Stephen A. Smith is not correct in his reporting. This may surprise you guys. Stephen A. Smith, none too pleased with someone saying that his reporting is somehow incorrect in the way that LeBron has said it. And here is a brief moment of Stephen A. greatness.
LeBron James, you in Dallas, stinking up the joint during the NBA Finals. You openly admitted you stunk up the joint. and how that was a growing experience for you and how that enabled you to ultimately become a champion. But because I had the temerity, the unmitigated gall to point out something you did in front of 50 million people, you all caught up in your feelings. And this is the same LeBron James that wants us to believe that his feelings really are of no consequence with this whole Kyrie Irving situation. Stephen A. points out what you did in front of 50 to 100 million people by stinking up the joint in your NBA Finals series against Dallas. You ain't get over that. But Kyrie Irving saying he don't want to play with the Cavaliers anymore. And this narrative about you not being happy about that suddenly is fake news. This is after people close to you, who you sign on to speak on your behalf, reach out to yours truly. And now it's fake news. Really, LeBron? Really?
By the way, we got a third person and a yours truly and a I. Like, that's hitting for the cycle, according to the rules of grammar, right? Shannon, that's first, second, and third person, right?
He touched them all.
You got them all. He did not miss a single place in that one. You guys did not tell me, though, that he started with the finals in 2011. Like, that's the one. Like, I don't know if that just comes off the top of your head, if that's the one you decide before I get there. Oh, I'm going to talk about that one. I ain't forgot. Because for LeBron, 2011 and 2010 are the ultimate I ain't forgots with LeBron James. So we got to that one. I mean, I imagine that LeBron was none too pleased to hear that Kyrie wants to get out of there. I imagine more than anything that LeBron would be none too pleased at this idea, not so much that he wanted to leave, but that playing with LeBron would be the reason that he wanted to leave. Like, that was the thing that he did not want to do. He did not want to play with LeBron. I mean, I think that most people, given that circumstance, would be just a little bit salty. Apparently, though, LeBron, it's no problem. No problem at all. I mean, that's certainly not something a passive-aggressive person would say, now is it?
And that's certainly not something that someone with their own media outlet and website would say, right?
No. See, here's the problem with LeBron. LeBron is in the same place as other passive-aggressive people who just don't seem to understand this. Once you start kicking that as your steez, where you were sending all these subliminal messages and everything else, I can't take anything you say at face value, right? Like, so I just happened to be listening to Meek Mill, and he had a song that happened to seem to add up and speak directly to the life that I'm living right now, but that is purely a coincidence. I didn't tell Meek to put out an album. Yeah, okay, buddy. Like, whatever you say. Like, I feel like that's where LeBron is on this one, is wherever you say. And what I am surprised by is I would think, at least at this point, he would be fully aware of the fact there's nothing you can do to win at this point. All you can do is let this story play out. Like, if you and your people want to do back channel stuff, cool, go ahead and do that. But there's nothing that you're going to do in front of people that's going to win for you. There's nothing you're going to say out here that anybody's going to believe. Nobody is going to believe that you did not leak this. Like, I don't know whether he leaked it or not, but nobody is going to believe it because you said you didn't do it. Like, I don't think there's a one person that's out there that's like, well, you know, I got to be honest with you, man. I thought he had leaked it, but then he said he didn't, and I was like, okay, LeBron wouldn't lie to me. Nah, I mean, I could totally see it like LeBron, like, no, I didn't leak that. Why would I ever leak anything? I mean, why would I want to go out of my way to say something that was absolutely true? Like, I mean, like, you that dude. What dude? That dude. That's it. So now I guess what are we going to do? We're just going to sit around and wait for Kyrie to be traded? Like, how many days are we going to give this story before we give up on the idea that Kyrie is going to be traded right away? Because Kyrie is going to have to be traded, and we don't really have that much to talk about. Can we get like a clock or something? Should we start a pool? Can we do that where we sell squares and you decide when it is that Kyrie is going to be traded, as we all understand that he must be traded, but we don't really have a great idea of when that is actually going to be? Can we start a pool? Because I feel like it would be highly entertaining if we did. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, there is one person that's got to be glad to know that Kyrie is getting out of Cleveland. He might have thought about this a little while ago. Find out who that is on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Adrian Wojnarowski will join us next segment. Woj will join us at 4:30 Eastern. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. And hey, stop Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. By the way, I just looked up at the TV, and the intentional talk guys were trying to guess a 90s icon entertainer through a number of clues, and the answer was ultimately Tupac. They got it a little bit faster than I expected, I have to say. It was looking a little dicey there for a second. We have been talking about this Kyrie Irving trade and, the trade that hasn't happened, but whatever. Now, it's worth noting that our man Chauncey Billups said that he knew as that was going on that Kyrie Irving was unhappy when he was being lowballed for that job. He knew at that time that Kyrie was unhappy. That was part of why he decided that wasn't something that he wanted to do. I have been in this interesting position where I've been looking at Derrick Rose and wondering where Derrick Rose is going to sign. And let us not forget that a couple years ago, Derrick Rose is like, look, man, I'm trying to get myself set up to get this money, right? There's all this bread that's out here. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get out here, and I'm trying to get this money in free agency. Derrick Rose got a couple $1 million. Like, that was it. You can make the argument life comes at you fast, or maybe Derrick Rose is out here hustling. Now, one thing we have to remember about Derrick Rose is Derrick Rose feels a lot better about Derrick Rose as a basketball player than most other people do. And also, to be fair to Derrick Rose has got to be like, I did score 18 points a game last year. I have never seen a situation where a dude averaged 18 points a game, signed a contract for $2 million, and people are like, why did you do that? Like, is there any other player in the NBA who could put up 18 points a game and you would not think that he was a steal if you had the opportunity to get him? Is there any other player? I don't think so. But Derrick Rose is now going to be playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm sure there's all kinds of people in Cleveland who are a little bit worried about what's going to happen or how it's ultimately going to go if they get Kyrie Irving up out of there. Derrick Rose, not one of those people. Not one of those people. Derrick Rose is looking at this like, I got my chance to shine. Finally, I'm surrounded by teammates of the proper caliber to allow me to get back to where it is that I'm supposed to be. Hey, let us not forget this. When Derrick Rose was playing with the Bulls, that was very much a Gladys Knight and Pippish sort of situation. Like, it wasn't like Derrick Rose really had anybody else out there with him. It was basically pass the ball to Derrick, and either Derrick's going to get a shot or Derrick's going to get a ball to somebody else, but it was absolutely pass the ball to Derrick. So Derrick Rose looking at this like, man, I dealt with that chaos that was there in Chicago, and then I had to go deal with the chaos that was there in New York, and now I just know how to play in chaos. Is he seeking out chaos? Well, I guess he got traded to the Knicks, but he is now wound up. If you had to ask what the most chaotic situations in the NBA are, this has got to be 3 of the top 5, right? Like what the Bulls have been, where the Knicks are, this, Sacramento. Is Sacramento number 1? Is that like we're putting at the top of the chaos list in Sacramento?
The DeMarcus Cousins, Sacramento, or
the Vivek Vlade Divac, that whole part of it. Like before we even get to DeMarcus Cousins, the fact that nobody over there has any idea what they're doing. Is anybody else that's registering on the chaos meter as high as those 4 teams that we picked out? Like, did we get the top 4? Because Derrick Rose has played for 3 now, right? Like now that they got Tommy Boy, whatever his name was, the bus boy that didn't need to be running the team, Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy. Once they got him up out the paint, that got a lot more stable, right? Magic came in there and was like, fine, we got a grown-up who knows what he's doing. That dude showed up late wearing baseball caps with suits. That's how you knew he wasn't about his business at all. Derrick Rose just keeps winding up in places where everything is turmoil. And, like, maybe the Cavs situation is less chaotic with Kyrie up out of there, except for the fact that everybody knows that LeBron is going to be up out of there. It says everybody knows that LeBron's ultimately going to be up out of there. It's going to be full-on chaos for this year. And Derrick Rose is like, yep, here I am, but it's my chance to shine. It is my chance to shine. Now, how's it going to go, though, when LeBron is, like, letting Derrick Rose know what the actual state of affairs is? How does that go?
And if you remember, Derrick Rose, wasn't he the kind of anti-super team guy? Like,
I'll recruit nobody.
Right.
He was that guy. But, I mean, technically, Derrick Rose going to a team has nothing to do with super.
He did declare last offseason with the Knicks that the Knicks and Golden State were the super team. So
that's right. He did say that, right? Didn't he say that? Didn't he say it was a team full of superstars?
Super team. Super team. Like, I feel we're a super team as well. Yeah.
I mean, you got to appreciate the confidence, right? Like, that's all you got. Like, the only thing that you could do there is to appreciate the confidence.
But to your initial point, though, for Derrick Rose, you have a shot here. Depending on what happens with Kyrie, you have a shot to be the starting point guard of the best team in the East.
Yeah, well, tell me this. How well would Derrick Rose have to play to change anybody's mind about him? Because I've always been uncomfortable observing the ways that people have dealt with Derrick Rose. Because, like, this vitriol developed toward Derrick Rose for him committing the cardinal sin of not being able to play, right? And so the argument was made that 2013 season, while everybody's out there hurting and everything else, the Bulls seemed to be behind the prevailing belief that Derrick Rose actually was able to play and just wasn't playing, right? And so that, I think, really like put some tarnish on his name. Then after that, Rose comes back the following year, and I was at his first game back. That was in Miami. His first game back was in Miami. I was there for that game. He wasn't there. And then before you even get to the end of the season, he winds up tearing his meniscus. You know what that tells me? Maybe Derrick Rose wasn't able to play when somebody told y'all that Derrick Rose was able to play. Like, maybe that was what the circumstances were. People still seem to have a beef with him from the fact that he did not play because they thought he could play. Now, of course, there's this other thing with Derrick Rose, which was that civil case with the sexual assault. Now, if you've developed an opinion of Derrick Rose about that, based on that, I really can't have a problem with you on that, right? Because a lot of it was terribly uncomfortable. I don't quite know what to do because I looked at that and I wasn't totally sure by the time it was done who to believe. But if that's the basis of your beef, I got it. But for these other people, that's not the basis of the beef. They're treating that basically the same way they treat the domestic violence with Floyd Mayweather. Like, yeah, you say you don't like domestic violence, but you really don't like Floyd, and therefore you bring this up, not because of your problems with domestic violence, but because of your problems with Floyd. Derrick Rose, I think, has a lot of people who are operating on that same space when they deal with him. But as a basketball player, I'll just never get why people are so, like, viciously opposed to him just because he had that season where he did not play. I would also make the argument, though, in terms of him as a basketball player. I think it was a really bad look for him to spend all that time on the sidelines with that bag of snacks. You remember that, right? Like, he's out there, he's in the suit, and he'd just be there with a sack of snacks.
Totally unbothered.
Yeah, just always just sitting there, like, not knowing what was going on, and a bag of snacks. And it was really interesting because it was always, like, snacks he brought from the crib. Like, apparently the United Center didn't have the snacks that he was looking for, right? He was always just sitting there eating a bag of snacks, and I guess that was the bad look for people. They didn't like that he was sitting there eating snacks. I have no idea, but he can get his own shot. He shot a relatively high percentage last year. Now, the problem is he can't shoot, and he's not really a guy that does a lot of cutting to the basket. However, I think he can help that team, or at the very least, you tell me what better they were going to do for $2.1 million. All right, 888-729-3776. Talk to Jake in New York. Jake, thanks for calling the right time. All right, Dan. MJ from New Orleans, you get to talk.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Doing all right, man.
Congratulations on the new show.
Thank you, man.
One chiming about the Kyrie situation, man.
Yep.
Just looking at the Kyrie versus Kobe situation back in the Olympics when they challenged him. More than sure they did get it in, and Kobe had to, do what he do. But then I'm more than sure he took that confidence to the Cavs facility and tried to challenge LeBron. So who do you think might have won in that one-on-one? And then I'm also thinking LeBron knows that Kobe's his dude, and how can you be on my team and have all this love for Kobe? So I think that might have had a little something to do with it also. So I'm going to shut it down and let you answer this.
All right. I appreciate that, man. By the way, on this show where I love accents, we just got my favorite accent in the United States, the New Orleans accent. A woman called up here with a New Orleans accent. Take my money, my house, and my car. We talked about that yesterday, whether or not this was all a Kobe Stan conspiracy from Kyrie, where he never thought LeBron was that good in the first place. I'm Kobe. I'm better than you. Tell me this, Shannon. You think Kyrie thinks he's better than LeBron?
Yes.
Me too. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Me too, meaning me too, I think Kyrie thinks that. Before you thought I lost my mind. Anyway, coming up next, who gets traded first, Kyrie or Carmelo Anthony? We'll talk to Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports on ESPN Radio. Of ESPN. He doesn't work there anymore. Just go to commercial, ESPN Radio.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He covers the NBA for us here at ESPN. His name is Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, Adrian, of course, we've all talked ad nauseum about the situation with Kyrie Irving. I guess the first question is, are we sure that the Cavs are absolutely going to trade him?
Well, no, because there's no trade until you make one. There's no trade until there's something out there that makes sense. I think, and listen, like this has kind of been this was kind of a two-way conversation between the Cavs and Kyrie Irving. I mean, you have the ownership and management, you have Kyrie Irving, you have people trying to figure out what LeBron James' plans are next year, and then trying to plan accordingly instead of having to just wait and react to it. And so there's a lot of dynamics in play here. But no, there's no guarantee that he gets moved. I do think that Cleveland is finding that there's a pretty, significant market for him because he has 2 years left on his deal, because he's 25 years old, that teams are going to offer more. Like Paul George, teams were limited in what they would offer Paul George because they didn't know if they could re-sign him. But with 2 years left on your deal, or with 2 years left on Irving's deal, it makes the market stronger. And I think if the Cavs are going to trade him, what they'd like to get back is some pieces that help them this year in the short term, but then some things that help them long term. And so whether that might be trying to get a bad contract off of the deal or, to get some money off or whatever, I think they can have some flexibility here with this trade because he is a player that there's you're going to get back, a lot for Kyrie Irving.
Now, what teams have what they're looking for? Because the immediate thought to me is Boston is they have the assets for now and for the future, but it would seem odd those two teams doing a trade now.
I don't think they're not. Those two teams aren't going to do a trade. I mean, you're not going to do a trade with a team you're trying to compete for. And, Boston, Isaiah Thomas is their guy, and next summer, he'll be in position for a big extension. But I don't think you're going to see it would, to me, be almost unprecedented to see, the two teams, the two top teams in a conference do a deal of that magnitude. I just don't see that. And I don't know if that fits Boston either. I think Boston has it would make the rivalry tremendous. But I think that when you look at teams for him, the teams who have the assets, let's face it, the teams with the best players, with picks, with like you look in the West probably more than the East. Would Cleveland do a deal with Miami? I don't know if Dave Gilbert would do a deal with Pat Riley. I don't know that he would. And I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I think there's some stuff in there you go, unless they had the best offer, it was overwhelmingly the best offer. But if things were kind of comparable, I don't know that they would. And so I think there's lots of teams interested, and then teams have to then decide how much do we want to offer, how much kind of what happens at this point, Bomani, is, a team calls Cleveland and says, listen, we're interested. Who do you like on our roster? And then Cleveland says, well, I like these four guys or these two guys who really interest me. And they'd say, well, these three aren't available, but maybe we could work on this one. And so that's kind of how this starts. It's not typically like a team calls and says, hey, here's our offer. It's more, let's see who you're interested in. Who do you like in our group? And sometimes teams have already been talking to Cleveland or been talking to a team where you kind of know who they like on your roster and who they don't want for whatever reason. And so I think it's in that mode. But, yeah, I think it's in that mode right now.
All right, talking to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, with all this Kyrie talk, are the Cavs resigned to the fact that there's just not a market for Kevin Love?
Well, yeah, there's a market for him, but are you getting back something that's better than what you're giving up? And that's the question. And what is Cleveland doing? Are they in the mode? Are they all in for this year, or are they hedging their bets and saying we have to not be in a position where if LeBron leaves, where we've made it so much harder to rebuild or reshape our roster without him, and without knowing what he's going to do, it really puts you in a tough position to do trades. Because if LeBron says to you, guys, I'm going to be here, or I'm planning to come back, then you're all in on it. But if he's not, then you're looking at the future differently. And I don't know that there's one deal out there that you say, okay, we do this deal and we're right there with Golden State. I don't know that deal exists for anybody in the league. And if you're Cleveland, you just can't go without knowing. I just think it's hard to, what are you going to give up more draft picks, go deeper into the future of giving up picks or taking on more bad contracts? They have contracts they're going to have a hard time getting off on that roster if they have to start unloading guys next year. So they're in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot to do business right now.
All right, talking to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, switching gears, do you think it's more likely that Kyrie starts the season with the Cavs or Carmelo starts the season with the Knicks?
I don't know that. It's hard. I wouldn't be able to compare it, Bo. I think right now I don't think either team, it's an ideal training camp having either player come in. I think that it's probably a bigger spectacle in Cleveland if Kyrie shows up first day, right? Like, that's a bigger spectacle. Carmelo has come back to New York a couple of years where it hasn't been great, but it's not as contentious. But I think that what New York is trying to do is they took a step back on these trade talks. Scott Perry came in as GM. He had not been he hadn't been a part of the negotiations, had gone on with Houston. And so I think they just want a fresh set of eyes on it and allow Scott then at some point here to start building a trade that maybe makes sense from his perspective. And I think that Carmelo had lost so much value because of what Phil Jackson had done for the past year, where teams just felt like we don't need to give up anything for him. Like, they have to get rid of him. And also because it's such a big salary, he makes so much, you have to get a big number back in exchange. And then the Knicks don't want to take back big contracts that are going forward. They want younger players. They want deals that maybe only have a year left on them. And so that makes it harder to do a deal. I think it's very hard to do a trade for Carmelo, given his salary, and that they don't want to get stuck going forward with more money. Like, they have resisted a buyout. New York has not wanted to do a buyout. I still think at some point that conversation might arise again if they just can't find a trade that makes sense. And again, unlike Kyrie, Carmelo has a no trade, so he does have a little more power, maybe a lot more power in this, or say, than Kyrie has about where Kyrie potentially could go.
All right, there's Adrian Wojnarowski. He's the best basketball writer in the business. He's here with us at ESPN. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Bo, thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. You be good. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with us, saving you time and money. Now, that's Progressive. Call
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports for joining us last segment. Pablo Torre will join us in studio at 5 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, he'll be here at 5 o'clock Eastern. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. To the phone. Talk to DJ Mike Hitman. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Bo, listen, I heard Adrian. I got people out there, too. Some things he don't know, but I know. Listen to me. I'm hearing a three-team bid for him. I'm hearing Boston. Now, Bo, correct me if I'm wrong. Who did Danny Ainge love most?
Who do you love most? I don't know who you talk about, man.
He loved point guard. He got 2 MVPs. You remember this guy called Steve Nash, the guy all the way from Canada? That was Danny Ainge's pick. People got to realize that Danny Ainge did Kyrie. That's what he's looking for. Danny Ainge loved point guard. And Kyrie, if you listen to us right now on ESPN at the right time, come and listen to Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline, bum, bum, bum. Your name will be in the Boston Raptors right now. It won't be in New Jersey because only thing they got up in that jersey is the 80s and 90s hockey jersey. And you don't want to go to New York. Clyde Frazier's jersey, the only thing up there. You see what Dolan doing to Carmelo and Porzingis. You might as well come in with a chapter there. Green. And green means money. And you will get lots of honey. And come listen to Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. Have a good one, Bo.
All right, Mike. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. I just saw something, and I don't have a source for you. Shannon, you can let me know if I heard right. Are they really going to show Mayweather McGregor in theaters? Like, is that really going to happen?
I saw that report. They're going to be charging $15 a ticket to see the fight. It's going to be broadcast in movie theaters.
Oh, no. Let me tell you something, man. If you're going to go see Mayweather McGregor in theaters, they're going to need to charge a lot more than $15. We got to put a much higher riffraff tax on that one. And that's not to say that jacking up the price is going to eliminate all the riffraff, but you got to eliminate all the riffraff that you can. The higher price cover charge is entirely about riffraff. I feel like, you know what they need to put a sign on the door that says it needs to be $50, no T-shirts, no tennis shoes, no athletic gear. Did I leave anything out? No hats. No hats. We can't have hats either, right? No hats, no T-shirts, no athletic gear. Specifically, no white T-shirts. We cannot have this. If you are going to watch this fight in a theater, I am saying pick your neighborhood carefully. While residential segregation is a great scourge upon our country, I suggest you find the most segregated neighborhood that you can find and stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to before you decide that you are going to go out in public among strangers to watch Mayweather McGregor. Because you come in there all by yourself thinking that it's cute. No. Let me tell you what you don't want no parts of, man. I ever tell you about the time I went to go see Rosewood? Shady, did you ever go see Rosewood?
I saw Rosewood, but I didn't go see Rosewood.
Oh, okay. I saw Rosewood at the theater, and so I went at this theater that was in a white neighborhood but was the closest theater to the local black college, right? So it was basically wall-to-wall black people except for a smattering of white people, and, Rosewood is all about, they were erroneously hunting some mysterious black man for committing a crime that did not actually take place. It gets kind of tense in there. And as I recall, they shot Florida Evans, which, as you might expect, kind of had the black people feeling a little salty, right? You can't just shoot Florida Evans, right? Anyway, when you get to the end of Rosewood, it's like nighttime the whole movie, and then they have like a daybreak scene. And you know how they put the words up, and the words will tell you what the story was, what happened to people in the future. The daybreak scene comes, so it's daybreak, it's a movie theater, so that means that lights up the whole theater. Before the words could even start going to the screen, all I heard was boom! That door hit, and every white person in the theater was Audi 5000. Every single one. Nobody was sticking around for the let-out. No, sirree, Bob. There was nothing at all to be discussed. They was gone, okay? This Mayweather McGregor, when McGregor loses, you do not want to be the one in that theater. No, sirree, Bob. Because let me tell you what people going to be doing at that theater, too. Bringing their own drink. That's what they're going to be bringing. Like, wow, sir, you didn't strike me as the type who would wear a man purse. I'm European. There will be flasks. There will be flasks. And No. And by the way, if you are running a theater, why don't you just play Tear the Club Up on a loop? If you're going to have the Mayweather-McGregor fight at your theater, why don't you just play Tear the Club Up the whole night? Like, I remember Tear the Club Up came out. I talked to my brother. I was like 17. My brother's 30. He was like, yeah, I'd be playing a remix called Tear Your Own Stuff Up. That's what this fight is going to be. Just a long, extended loop. A Tear the Club Up, Nuck If You Buck, Body Part 2. Put Your Hood Up does the job also.
That's what I was going to say, Put Your Hood Up, especially the part when you start, walk up to the one dude.
Yeah. No. That's what this, nothing good is going to result from this. Watch the fight at a house of someone whom you already know. I would also, once again, like to thank Floyd and Connor for nothing because that fight is on my birthday, which is kind of sort of ruining my birthday because anything I might want to go do, you suckers going to be sticking around watching American society fall apart. That does not help me at all. That does no good for me whatsoever. I don't even want to watch this. Like, you realize none of us think this fight is going to be good? Have you heard anybody say that they actually think this fight is going to be good? No. But you have also heard everybody's talking about the actual fight, but not the, they're talking about the fight, but not the fight. So nobody's going to watch an athletic contest. They just going to get drunk and get heated. And that's going to be bad. That's going to be very, very bad. Very, very, very bad. Shannon, do you imagine there'll be any adventurous souls who will, shall we say, cross the railroad tracks to go watch this fight at, say, the Magic Johnson Theater?
I can only imagine.
Well, hold up. That Magic Johnson Theater is still open in Harlem. What is that Magic Johnson Theater going to look like, given the changing demographics of Harlem? Who's going to decide that the neighborhood belongs to them? Guns N' Roses just played the Apollo on Saturday, all right? Yes, Metallica has already played the Apollo. Guns N' Roses played the Apollo on Saturday, and I doubt they played 1 in a million. But if the Guns N' Roses crowd is showing up and the Showtime at the Apollo crowd is showing up, I don't think Magic running that fight at his theater. No, you ain't about to tear up his stuff. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, the homie Pablo Torre joins me in studio on ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. I am in town to do First Take. I will be doing First Take on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Joining me will be Pablo Torre, who is in studio with me right now. And we both realize that we are set on First Take tomorrow to talk to both Nick Saban and Adrian Broner. And Pablo, your suggestion on what we really need to happen.
We need to get them to talk to each other, because they're in separate segments right now. I honestly would be okay also if they wanted to create a talk show starring Nick Saban and Adrian Broner.
Here's the thing. I think Nick Saban is absolutely ready to talk to Adrian Broner at any point in time, because Nick Saban
He's ready
recruits.
to recruit?
He
He's ready to
recruits.
recruit him?
He recruits. Like Nick Saban, no one has talked to more types of people probably than Nick Saban, right? Nick Saban is ready to recruit. I just don't know how it goes Adrian Broner talking to Nick Saban. I also imagine he might call him Rick all the time. Good to meet you, Rick.
Adrian Broner introduces an element of chaos that I was not prepared for when I drove you to Bristol, Connecticut today, Bomani.
Yes, you just had to throw that in there, in your Cadillac.
Oh, hello. Hello, America. Yes, I am both a co-host with Bomani Jones and his show for
now,
contractually speaking.
We're talking to Pablo Torre on the right time. Now, something of note, not of note, we've been talking about this forever, this whole Kyrie Irving situation and the Kyrie being traded. Now, you have done some, for real reporting on LeBron and his team and their aspirations and everything else, right? So what do you think about this when you hear that Kyrie's looking at playing with LeBron like, nope, I want to be the man?
Can I tell you what I dream about happening?
Do tell.
I want there to be a news story that announces that Kyrie Irving demanded a trade away from LeBron James because Kobe Bryant advised him to.
We're a half step away.
What would that do?
Hold on. Go ahead, Shannon. Go ahead, Shannon. You ran back over to the microphone for this.
I've been saying it for how many days now?
One, actually.
Kyrie is the Kobe mole. He's a Kobe stan from the start, and his whole duty was to come in here and sabotage LeBron because of Kobe. Trying to tell you.
That would be funny, though, if Kobe told him, you know what it is, man. You need your own. You need your own. In spite of the fact that those first 3 years after Kobe got his own were pretty terrible, right?
Yes.
It really wasn't a great idea.
The Rudy Tomjanovich era of Kobe Bryant's career didn't go all that great when it was just him.
Well, neither did the first 2 years of the Phil Jackson era. It's not like it was all Rudy. The first 2 years, it did not go. So, Kobe, though, I bet you Kobe looks at that situation and says, no, it's the greatest time of my life. I scored 35 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? And then he has to be traded.
It would make the soap opera that is the NBA so much better if Kobe Bryant, who we thought was dead and gone, was actually intimately involved in the power dynamics of the league. And in fact, he is Shannon's not all the way off on that, because there are a bunch of guys in the league who worship at the church of Kobe Bryant. Paul George does, James Harden does, Russell Westbrook does, Kyrie Irving does.
Now, those first three are L.A. guys, so that makes a little bit more sense. I think Kyrie just doesn't like passing the ball. Right, because those other guys worship at the altar of him, but they don't really have like a Kobe Bryant game necessarily. Like I don't think James Harden's game, as much as people think of him as being like this, this ball dominant guy, which he can be, but James Harden is a distributor as much as anything else. Paul George, his game doesn't have much in common with Kobe Bryant, although like Kobe over the last 10 years, Paul George does not hit last-second shots.
But the other thing is that as aspiring alphas, they all share that instinct. I mean, James Harden, you may argue, may be the biggest outlier because he's now welcoming Chris Paul over to share the ball with him. But, man, Paul George wanted out. James Harden wanted his own thing to leave Oklahoma City. Russell Westbrook clearly has always been about that. And Kyrie Irving now is the latest attendant of this church to realize it's time for me to be an alpha dog. And that is something, reporting about Kyrie, he was the first guy I profiled for ESPN the magazine back in 2012-13. The thing about Kyrie was that he was not naturally an alpha. His dad, Dredrick Irving, talked to me about how he needed to make Kyrie Irving into an alpha, that type of personality. He wasn't that way normally. And worshiping and learning from Kobe and challenging Kobe to one-on-one in that Team USA camp, that was a big part of Kyrie Irving unlocking, in Kyrie Irving's mind, his own greatness.
All right, we're talking to Pablo Torre of ESPN the magazine. Now, can you make an alpha, right? Because I think a difference, though, that's interesting about Kyrie versus Kobe is that while Kobe kind of withered in the shadow of Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe also was bucking back at Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like Kyrie has the temerity to do that with LeBron James. Like, we hear the stories about Kyrie kind of turning his head and not listening or rolling his eyes or whatever it is, but we don't hear about him, like, standing up to LeBron in the way that Kobe stood up to Shaq. So, like, can you make an alpha?
I think that is a very good question that leans a bit on psychoanalysis in ways I'm not totally ready to diagnose, but I will say this. When it comes to Kyrie Irving, man, that guy has always considered himself better than everyone else did. And the question that we all disagree about with Kyrie on this is the following question. Can Kyrie Irving be the best player on a championship team? That, to me, is the other distinguishing characteristic when you get through Harden and Westbrook and Paul George and the other Kobe worshipers. Kyrie Irving cannot be that person. And so can you make an alpha? Maybe mentally, but the whole point of the alpha, and again, this is the mythology of the alpha, is that there cannot, by definition, be that many of them. And so I don't think Kyrie Irving can.
Well, hold on. We're talking to Pablo Torre here on The Right Time. Forget about can Kyrie be the best player on a championship team. Are we sure Kyrie can be the best player on a playoff team? And I'm not saying that he cannot be, but we do not have a single bit of evidence to indicate that he can.
We don't. And we also have a lot of evidence, by the way. I was reading this today. Kyrie attempted more shots per game than everyone except for 5 players. And he attempted more shots than LeBron himself, than James Harden, than Steph Curry. Like, Kyrie's getting opportunities. It's not like Kyrie is sitting in a box somewhere waiting to be broken in case of emergency. No, emergencies have come. Kyrie has stepped up. He hit that 3 that LeBron passed the ball to him on. And he's been shooting his shot. So it's not like Kyrie is dusting off cobwebs.
We're talking to Pablo Torre on The Right Time. Now, LeBron, this is all interesting, of course, because we don't know if LeBron is coming back.
Yes, back to LeBron, yes.
I guess we have to keep going with if on that, right? Because I feel fairly certain that LeBron is going to leave.
The fun of this news cycle is that I am increasingly certain he's going to leave. And LeBron James, I've heard so many people, smart people say, why can't LeBron James clarify that he's going to be in Cleveland beyond this season?
Because he's not.
And A, he's not, but B, the dude has no incentive to.
No.
He has zero incentive to make life more certain for Dan Gilbert. And yes, is that toxic? Sure. But it's also a function of LeBron being the greatest single weapon in professional sports. And if you don't give him that courtesy, then, well, it's not quite as good being LeBron James.
Now, I think one thing that you can give a particular insight to is LeBron and the potential allure of Los Angeles based upon his future plans, as you profiled him and spent a lot of time around Maverick. I say go.
Dude has a house in Brentwood. Dude is taking meetings every summer about potential acting roles through Warner Brothers and WME, his agency. He is actively the head of a media company that has 8 figures in funding from companies like Turner Sports. And so LeBron's side passion of both running a media company and uninterrupted and wanting to act, which he has talked to me about wanting to be a superhero, all that stuff is real. Now, you can ask, does that require him to be in Los Angeles? But does anyone really love commuting?
Right. It doesn't require you being in Los Angeles, but it's a pretty good reason to be in Los Angeles, right?
Great reason to. And it makes your life a lot easier. And it also just is logical, right? If you're somebody who is going after a spotlight and you're somebody who wants to have control, I have a feeling that in Los Angeles, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers, they would give him a certain degree of control.
Well, I think it needs to be the Lakers, though, because, look, it is one thing to be LeBron James, but if you know anything about how Los Angeles operates, it's a bit of an insular town. Like, there is a town element to it.
Town element.
Right. And being LeBron James of the NBA is one thing. Being LeBron James of the Lakers is a completely different ballgame, which can unlock a whole lot more stuff than I think a lot of people are giving credit for.
And now we come back to why Kobe Bryant may have been orchestrating the dysfunction at hand.
That was brilliant. Like, you realize we just had like a legitimate 10-minute arc that came right back to Kobe Bryant. And
the chauffeur has brought you back home.
Shannon over there pointing at his forehead like a meme. All right, that is Pablo Torre. January 2nd, 2018, a new television show will air with me and Pablo Torre. It has no name, it has no format, but damn it, we going to be there. My man, thank you so much. And we'll be on First Take tomorrow, and we'll be on First Take on Thursday, and we'll be there tomorrow. Nick Saban going to show up, and Adrian Broner going to show up, and if somebody got to brush his hair, it's going to be you, because it's not going to be me. Just so you know.
That's also in my contract.
Boom. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, I'll tell you what NFL player needs a new nickname. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. David Rich, he represents Lucky Whitehead. He'll be joining us next segment. David Rich will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Also, thanks to Pablo Torre for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. He's still hanging around here, which means Pablo Torre might be back on the show in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. Because why would I work harder than I have to? The Right Time is brought to you by Upside. Now say big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com. Upside.com. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. I feel like I owe an apology to Lucky Whitehead. I was laughing at him yesterday for getting popped for shoplifting. Now, the point I made, and this is a point that I think we would all have to say is inarguable. There's 2 charges that if you catch, no matter the circumstance, man, everybody just laughing at you, right? One of them is solicitation of prostitution. Doesn't matter what it is. No. We just laughing. That's the end. The other one is shoplifting. Like, you get caught shoplifting, we just going to laugh at you. Even if you may or may not yourself at some. Okay. I only shoplifted one time.
What?
Okay.
How am I just now finding out about this?
Because it was less about shoplifting and more about, like, survival. So, it was a snowstorm coming to Atlanta. And you know how Atlanta goes when a snowstorm is coming, right? It is like the end of days. So we went to the Kroger. And Shannon, are you familiar with the phrase murder Kroger?
I am not.
Well, there's always a Kroger that's a little bit dicey. This one was this Kroger's a little bit dicey. Like one of the Krogers where they got a store that sells clothes right next to it, right? But like clothes with pinstripes.
Gotcha.
So we went in there. It was a little bit mad, and we were broke, and we were in college, and it had become clear there were no laws left at the Kroger. The Kroger had become lawless. They were out of eggs. Okay, there was not an egg left in the grocery store, and I didn't shoplift as much as I forgot to take these spices to the register that I had gotten off the shelf.
Could have been worse.
You're getting spices in a snowstorm?
They're expensive. They're expensive.
Wait a minute. Good point, Pablo. Wait, you're getting spices in a snowstorm?
Okay. It actually was. Okay, it actually was shoplifting. That's the way to put it. Like
what was coming next? Crab legs? Like seriously?
No, because I couldn't fit those in my pocket. But like if I had gotten popped for shoplifting those spices. Can you imagine me trying to explain to my parents, right? You've met my mother. Can you imagine me explaining to my mother, but garlic is expensive? right? Nobody wants to hear your story for why when you get caught shoplifting. Nobody does. The thing with Lucky Whitehead was, though, he didn't get caught shoplifting. Some dude who said he was Lucky Whitehead got caught shoplifting. What are the odds? Right? So, I apologize because I definitely went about it come on, man, you got shoplifted, we were shoplifted. And, what wasn't his defense? His defense was the Shaggy defense. It wasn't me. But the problem is, if it's not you, your only defense is, it wasn't me. And nobody believes it when you say, it wasn't me. Want proof? You might have heard that I shoplifted once at the Kroger during a snowstorm. It wasn't me. Y'all don't believe that, do you?
They don't got me on tape.
Y'all don't believe that, do you? I went to college with a dude because we all know a shoplifter, right? Every one of us knows someone who just religiously shoplifts. I don't know necessarily if it's kleptomania or just a talent or whatever it is. But I went to school with a dude. His email address started with klepto. That was the first word in his email address. And I was like, do you send this to professors? Right? That was the first word in his email address. And we were once at Eckerd. Does Eckerd even exist anymore? Anyway, we were at the Eckerd, and we're walking out, and the camera batteries, right? Remember that run where 35mm cameras had the special camera battery?
Right.
And we're walking out, and I saw the camera battery, and I said to him, I was like, oh, I need to get one of those. And I keep walking, and he's like, oh, this right here? I'm like, yeah. And then next thing I know, the battery had disappeared. He had a closed fist and said, okay, let's go. And at that point, what can I do? So we got in the car, and I changed the battery on my camera. Wasn't me. But really, it wasn't me. It honestly wasn't me. I also saw that dude once. We had gone to Walmart. We was out of town and, needed some preventative health care. You know what I mean? Like preventative. This dude stood there and with one hand opened the box, put two fingers in, began to take out of the box what was in the box, and slinked it down the sleeve of his long sleeve shirt. It was like a snake was coming out of the box, and he got all 12 or 16 of them. And then we left. That dude is still out here walking free. Lucky Whitehead didn't even actually shoplift and lost his job. Right? That's what happened. Lost his job. And it wasn't even him. Your name can't be Lucky. And didn't his dog get kidnapped?
Yeah, by a rapper, I believe. Last week, the rapper posted a video, I got your dog.
Yeah, so what's his new nickname? Somebody in my mention said we need to call him Hard Luck. Hard Luck Whitehead. How can we come up with a poll for what Lucky Whitehead's new nickname needs to be? Because he caught an L. He got such a severe L, and nobody believed him until the cops said, whoop, my bad.
What I don't understand is the guy who was arrested, he didn't have identification on him, but he verbally provided the name, date of birth, and social security number of Whitehead. How did he come up with all of that information?
Well, the social security number is the big part. Because also, I'm going to tell you this, too. You arrest me, I might give you my name. I ain't giving you my social security number. That's how they should have known that was shenanigans. Why would I give you more information about me than is required? Why would I give you my social security number? That's not going to be it. He went the extra mile. He went way past my brother's homeboy who said it was B.J. Armstrong at that party. I told you about that, right? My brother had a friend that they had crashed some party in Chicago in the early 90s. Wow, I'm just giving you all the stories in this segment. But they had crashed some party in Chicago in the early 90s they absolutely weren't supposed to be at, and they were absolutely underdressed for that party. And so somehow they had come up with the bright idea that if anybody asked any questions, they were going to say that one of them was B.J. Armstrong. This was it. Now, I would think if you were not 13 years old, I don't know how you were going to pretend to be B.J. Armstrong, but they had sold it. It's B.J. Armstrong. And so they're there. People have now heard that B.J. Armstrong is at the party. So now people are like, oh, B.J. Armstrong, where? And then finally one dude saw, quote, unquote, B.J. Armstrong. It was like, hey, that ain't no damn B.J. Armstrong. And the other one was like, hey, he might not be B.J. Armstrong, but he's my boy. And who the bamp are you, mother bamp? Needless to say, they weren't at that party very long. Anyway, Lucky Whitehead did not actually shoplift. That's the moral of the story. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, we'll talk to David Rich. He's Lucky Whitehead's agent. Does he feel that Lucky being released by Dallas was football related or bogus charge related? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He represents Lucky Whitehead, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys. His name is David Rich. Now, David, I think a lot of us heard the story about him shoplifting. I admit that hearing the response was it was mistaken identity. I was like, sure, it's mistaken identity, but it was really mistaken identity.
In this case, it was. I know it sounds like a clever excuse from an agent, but that's what happened in this case.
Well, how did this happen? Because it seems strange for what we hear that the gentleman was able to produce his name and his Social Security number. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, I still don't know all the details. All I know is this, that we were approached by the Cowboys yesterday at about 1 o'clock, basically saying, hey, what's the deal with this arrest? It blindsided all of us. I didn't know about it. Lucky certainly didn't know about it. I think the Cowboys were presented by TMZ. They saw an article on TMZ. So I think as this is all unfolded, what I'm learning is the guy got stopped after stealing something from a convenience store. Police detained him, said, what's your name? My guess is the guy said, I don't have an ID, but I'm Rodney Whitehead. A lot of people don't know that Lucky's name is Rodney. And so they said, oh, if you don't have an ID, we'll just issue you a citation and then show up at court. There was never an arrest, so there was no fingerprints, no mugshot, nothing like that. So the guy was able just to walk away with a citation. Dude probably tore the ticket up like, oh, man, I got it over on you. And then Lucky's left holding the bag. So I don't know that he had Lucky's information. Certainly you can get anyone's birthday off of Google these days. But I think what happened is they ran probably a prior traffic ticket that Lucky had of the cops to try to fill in the blank for the perpetrator's story. When he says, I don't have all my information, they just fill in the blanks. I don't know how he gets a Social Security number. I think that's a pretty hard task.
All right, we're talking to David Rich. He represents Lucky Whitehead. Now, what were your discussions like with the Cowboys as you tried to explain to them we really don't know what's happening here?
The Cowboys have been good to Lucky. They've been good to me. So, I was disappointed in how this whole thing shook out. But like I told somebody else, man, I've been broken up with before. I know what it feels like. I know what that call feels like. When a girl doesn't want to date you no more, she says, like, she's looking for a reason. And so when I got the call, they were basically like, it's like your mom about to whoop you. I don't know if you got whoopings when you were a kid, but I did. She already knew she was going to whoop me, but she gave me a chance to tell me to tell her what the excuse was. So they called and basically were like, I could tell they were always going to cut him, but we'll give you a chance. What do you know about this? And of course, we didn't have the right answers because we didn't know anything about it.
Now,
so it was not a.
Oh, sorry.
No, it was just a very short conversation with a lot of, we're looking into it, but we don't know right now.
Well, do you think this release was about what they thought happened, or was more about football?
Oh, it was about what they thought happened, without a doubt.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think a lot of people had forecasted they drafted Ryan Switzer and that therefore Lucky was expendable.
I think so, but they were going to – I think he's earned the right to go to camp. Lucky's a guy that I think has an incredible talent. I don't think the Cowboys have used him in a fashion that would allowed him to kind of showcase his skills. But my hope was that with the competition this year that he would, really take that next step and put up some numbers, and they use him down the field to stretch the field a little bit more. The kid runs a 4.3. I don't know how many guys on that roster do, but they never ran the ball down the field with him. They would always jet sweep him, which is their prerogative, but I would hope that they'd give him a chance to show out what he could do.
All right, we're talking to David Rich. He represents Lucky Whitehead. Now, given some of the Cowboys, shall we say, patience with some other players, were you surprised that they would draw a hard line on this?
I wasn't surprised. I was just happy that it was my guy. I'm like you. I see all the postings and read the clippings, and I knew that at some point they had to do it, but did not want it to be my guy, and certainly wanted it to be true if it was going to be the case. So it was disappointing. I think he's incredibly disappointed. This dude loved being a Dallas Cowboy. You'll never find a guy in that organization that loved being it more than Lucky, and you won't find a guy in that locker room that didn't love the kid. He was so beloved that the defensive linemen let him come to their weekly lunch.
Now, how brisk has the market been for his services in the last 24 hours?
A bunch of teams called and said, what is the truth of this? What's out there? How much of this is legit? Luckily, our team at Rich Sports were able to really turned the tide on this. We really turned this thing on its head. I mean, it went from he's been arrested and charged and has a warrant out to his arrest to, oh snap, we're wrong about this in really less than 24 hours. So we've really exonerated him. His name is clear. I've got 5 or 6 teams that said, man, we couldn't get a guy like this in the 4th or 5th round right now if we tried. So I don't expect him to clear waivers. But we'll see.
All right, that is David Rich. He represents Lucky Whitehead. Thanks so much for joining us, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bomani.
All right, now. Well, man, whoo, I tell you, he's kind about that, too, because I definitely thought that cat, like, it wasn't me. Yeah, okay, it wasn't you. Whatever you say, buddy. But it wasn't him.
But he seemed to be realistic and having the same reaction that we all would when hearing that, when you use the "it wasn't me" defense.
Well, I want to know who it was. Like, who was able at the drop of a dime to be like, I'm Rodney Whitehead? Because that sounds like one of his cousins. Right? Like, that sounds like kinfolk.
Unless it was some next level identity theft, the person probably knew Lucky, and Lucky probably knows who it is.
Yeah, in fact, while I'm thinking about it, I felt like we should, David Rich, if he out here doing his job, he got to be on there with one of them companies that be out here saying, we're going to protect your identity for you, right? Like, he's got to be the ultimate face of a company like that. I mean, yo, can you imagine that? If somebody's like, so you got arrested? No, I didn't. Yes, you did. But I didn't. Well, it says it right here. But I didn't. Yeah, whatever. But all you got is I didn't. That's the only thing that you can say is like, but for real, though, I didn't do it. That's it. That's where that dude was stuck. Also, I realized in talking about this and reminiscing about various exposures to shoplifting that I may have had, just being around it, once or twice participant, it's really got me thinking, man, I have been around a lot of people who have pilfered things before. College, man, like, so what counts as stealing, right? Like, does it count as stealing if I take food from an event that I wasn't invited to? Is that stealing, or is that just simply technically stealing? You guys got to vote. Shannon, you got to vote.
Okay, you said you weren't invited at the event, right?
Right.
So you're already stealing off top.
I didn't go to the event. I just took food.
Yeah, that's still stealing.
While they were in the event, the food was against the wall, and
Absolutely.
I was broke.
Yes, absolutely. As someone who worked in hospitality for 10 years, that's absolutely stealing, yes.
I didn't expect you to be so passionate about this.
I'm just saying, when you're a journey ambassador manager for so long, it's
Yes.
ingrained in you.
Okay, how about if a fight starts at a party and while the fight's going on, you were waiting on a drink and nobody gave you the drink, so you just grabbed a bottle?
We got to do what you got to do then.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was actually protecting people because in a circumstance like that, there's no telling when somebody going to snatch a bottle and break it over somebody's head. In fact, I'm upset with myself that we didn't do more. We should have taken all the bottles to keep everybody safe. Because that's what I'm about. Safety. Safety. Okay, I got one more. I didn't do this, right? This wasn't me. Wow, they're gonna be watching me when I walk around here. But back in the olden days, you have to go pick up your pictures from like Kmart or something like that. So I took my homeboy. We went out to the Kmart at Greenbrier Mall to pick up some pictures. And they were taking forever. Like, whoever was on the register walked away, but my man had the pictures in his hand. And I looked at him and was like, I mean, if you want, we can leave. He's like, you sure? I mean, because it's his pictures. So I'm like, all right, cool. We'll leave on 3. I go 1, 2, 3. I start strolling smooth. He at 6'2", 275. Just started running out of the Kmart. Like, he's way ahead of me, and I'm driving, right? And I got to still play it cool. Like, walk out to Kmart, walk out to Kmart. I get out to Kmart, man. I hit that run. We get in that Corolla with one rearview mirror. We start driving. Look at him. It's like, so you've never done this before? He says, no. I was going to sell him out, too, if the cops came. Like, I mean, after I got in the parking lot, I mean, my man was out here. I didn't know what to do. I'm only 17 trying to fit in with my friends. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options to pick the price that works for you. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, we are officially at the point where they'll give anybody a tryout before Colin Kaepernick. Find out who anybody is on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to David Rich. He's Lucky Whitehead's agent. He joined us last segment. Tom Haberstroh of ESPN will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. Nothing makes a summer birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So the Chargers have 3 quarterbacks on their depth chart, but Robert Griffin III was scheduled to have a workout with them here today on Tuesday. Shannon, do we have any idea whether they changed their minds, or do we know did this happen?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm checking now to see if it actually happened.
So a couple of interesting things here. One, it is, I guess I wouldn't say it's terribly surprising, but as I can tell, this is the first time anybody's called Griffin to get him in to work him out, right? 2012 seems like so far ago. So long ago. That was 5 years ago. And now, like, one team is calling Robert Griffin in to work out, and a team that's got all the quarterbacks. By the way, if you did not know, Kellen Clemens still in the league. Kellen Clemens, 1 snap away. And then they got 2 other dudes I've never heard of. Mike Bercovici, do I have that right? And some dude named Eli. Somebody look up a picture of Eli Jenkins. I want to see, you want to place your bet now on what you think we got here with Eli Jenkins? Because I feel like Eli Jenkins is one that could go any other way. By the way, Robert Griffin getting, there we go. That's a Jenkins. That's a Jenkins.
Oh, yeah, don't let the Eli fool you.
Yeah, but Eli Manning has kind of thrown this off, right? Eli Manning and Eli Whitney, although I've come to find out there's a whole generation of people who grew up believing that Eli Whitney was black just because he worked with cotton, and that's not true. Did you know that? Shannon, did you think Eli Whitney was black?
I wasn't ready for that, man. My mic was still on.
Nah, did you know? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that believe that Eli Whitney was black just because he invented the cotton gin.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just saying. No beef. I could understand, right? Like, we didn't have Google when we were growing up. But anyway, this Robert Griffin getting to work out with the Chargers showed me something. I have found the way to get the majority of America to say that Robert Griffin is better than he actually is. And that is by saying even Robert Griffin has gotten a workout before Colin Kaepernick has. Like, if you want to hear the bright side on Robert Griffin from a bunch of people that never had the bright side on Robert Griffin, bring that point up. I found that out yesterday on the machine. All of a sudden, I had people hitting me up. Well, Griffin is a better fit for San Diego's offense at throwing the deep ball. I'm like, oh, you so sophisticated. You know the San Diego offense so much that you know which of those 2 dudes is better, huh?
And of course, Griffin, his footwork is much improved, and he's more of a passer than he is a thrower.
Yeah, like this moment right now, as long as Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job and people call Robert Griffin in for workouts, he'll never hear people say nicer things about him ever again in life, right? Like, it's like 2012 all over again when you use this as a moment to remind you that Colin Kaepernick still does not have a gig, or that no one has even called him in. What more do y'all need? Like, all the people who are saying that Kaepernick just isn't good enough to play in the NFL. Dan Orlovsky just signed a contract. Robert Griffin just got called in for a workout. So you tell me what you think it is right now. Like, you're out of answers at this point. We went from, well, let's wait for the draft pass. Well, we'll wait for free agency first. Wait for free agency pass. Well, we'll wait for training camp to start. We're there. Well, we'll wait for Like, what more are you going to need to wait for before you realize that the NFL has decided that in one way or another, this dude is not going to be playing in this league? And I'm not saying that necessarily the NFL is the corporate entity as much as the NFL is a loose confederation of teams where everybody seems to have come to this conclusion. And I know your argument is they're in the business of winning. If there's somebody they'll take on that can help them win, then they'll do it. To which I always respond, how do you explain decades and decades of segregation, right? Like, you have to realize that in all these years where people were way more gangster about their segregation, all those things were still the case. All those arguments were still made. Yeah, well, all they want to do is win. Well, yeah, if they thought these guys were good enough, well, then they'd get to start. Yeah, all the stuff. Number one, you have to ask yourself what it is about Colin Kaepernick that makes people believe that he's not that good when he actually is not as bad as they say, right? You have to start there. Why do they believe that? Because that started before the protest thing. You have to start there. Like, okay, so why is it that they believe that? Then you get to hear, and Robert Griffin, hey, Shad, do you think Robert Griffin, anybody told him to get a haircut so he could get a job? You think that's possible?
Oh, with the struggle braids? Probably not.
I ain't going to lie. I tell him to get a haircut before he got a job. I wouldn't hire him to do a damn thing. And it ain't because his hair is long. It's because that dude's still out here wearing box braids looking like Lorenz Tate in the inkwell. For who? For what? And how long must it take to get those box braids? I think his mama does his braids. How much time must it take? You see how thin them braids are? How much time must that take?
That was one of the things I was most disappointed with Griffin's tenure in Washington. You were in Washington. You couldn't tell me, like, I know you love your mama. Your mama been doing your hair forever. I get that. But you're in D.C., and you tell them you couldn't find one person somewhere at some shop with a South in front of it to do your hair.
He was not looking. That was how he and his mama bonded. What I want to know is, if, given that his then wife, did she try to learn how to braid his hair so that, one day his mama might not be around? Somebody got to do it. Kind of like how daddies need to know how to do girls' hair a little bit just in case mama's sick on class picture day.
I'm just saying I know how to do a mean bun and ponytail.
Well, I was going to ask, have you had to try? Because my sister has a great story about my mama being out of town on class picture day, and her hair looks a mess. Because my daddy was like, whatever you want to do. I have no idea. And she had like a mile of ribbon.
I can freak a ponytail and a bun. Yep.
You got video?
Maybe.
I'd like to see it. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, it's real easy to see why Chauncey Billups passed up that Cavs job. We'll tell you what he said on the radio about it on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That's at Bomani_Jones. So we thought we were going to lose. The homie Chauncey Billups works here at ESPN. Went to interview for president of basketball operations with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Dan Gilbert made him a way below market offer from what we've been told by Stephen A. Smith and others. But Chauncey went on the radio, Altitude 950 in Denver. Is an interesting guy to talk to about all these things as he had the opportunity to get this job. And here he is saying his initial reaction hearing about Kyrie requesting a trade.
You know what? No, it didn't really surprise me. Obviously, I knew as they were doing their due diligence on me, I was doing the same thing. So obviously, I knew so much about the situation that the rest of the world doesn't know. But that's unfortunate, man, because he's a special talent, and in my opinion, so much of what he's been able to accomplish on and off the floor he's been a beneficiary of having LeBron James, man. And that would be alarming to me if I was a team looking to get him.
Now, two interesting things there. One, Chauncey Billups knew about that when he was looking at the job in the first place. How easy must it have been to say no to that job if he already knew this in the first place? They're looking at Dan Gilbert like, why are you wasting my time? There's that part. The other part I thought was interesting was him saying there that if he were another team looking to get Kyrie, that he would be alarmed by the fact that Kyrie doesn't get that playing with LeBron James has helped him a great deal. I wonder how much that will matter to teams, though, right? Because Shaq and Kobe, I think a lot of people have a certain measure of revisionist history about what it was there really between like 2001 and 2004 based upon what side they decided they were on. For you youngsters, Team Kobe and Team Shaq, like that was basically the initial Team Issa, Team Lawrence. Anyway, you get to around 02 in particular, Kobe Bryant's every bit as good as Shaquille O'Neal is at that point. In 04, it was clear that Shaquille O'Neal was on the downward side of it. I remember the last game Shaquille O'Neal had that I legitimately looked at and was like, okay, this is the Shaq that we remember. He put up 36 and 20 in Game 4 against the Pistons in the 04 Finals. The Lakers still lost, right? But after that, I mean, Kobe Bryant was a better player than Shaquille O'Neal pretty much at every point after that in the NBA. when is Kyrie going to be a better player than LeBron, right? Like, I think that people would have a much better understanding of Kobe being like, I'm ready to be out in front because he had demonstrated himself to be a guy that was ready to be out in front. I don't know if Kyrie has done that. So I did think it was interesting that Chauncey Billups said that he would be alarmed if he were another team because, hey, man, you out here with LeBron, and LeBron making you look better than you actually are. You don't get that? And just so you know, the answer is no, he doesn't get that because they never get that. They never get that. Shannon, every single player in the NBA, you ask him why he's not doing more. What's his answer? Every player in the league, why are you not scoring more points?
Politics.
Bingo! And to Kyrie, this is the ultimate politics, right? Like, is there any more politics than he LeBron? That's his whole thing. Politics. By the way, Chauncey Billups also apparently sees what we see, which is that what Kyrie is doing doesn't add all the way up. Not completely.
I mean, man, you got a chance to win every single year, man. Every single year you got a chance to win. And not only that, you're getting everything you want. You get all the shots you want. You're playing for a great coach who's letting you go to work. Games on the line, they coming to you. You're playing on TV every week. You got your personal. I mean, to me, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't get it. But everybody has their own desires. I mean, he's won a championship already. Maybe he's saying, you know what? Yeah, I won a championship. I did this. I did that. Maybe he wants to be Russell Westbrook, man, and go try to win MVP and get all the shots. And that's the only thing that I can sense that I can make of it.
Well, this leads to an interesting question, though. When he talks about this, does Kyrie want to be the man, or does Kyrie not want to be the man next to the man? Right? Does he actually care about being the man, or is he just tired of being like dealing with LeBron? You see what I mean? Because it's one thing, like you talk about going to play with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is his boy, and he feels like they'll be like alongside. Like, so do I need to be at the top, or I just can't have this one dude that's so much higher than me? Like, one thing that was mentioned is that LeBron's homeboy, like, you got a partner that's got a job with the Cavs. His partners ride on the plane, and Kyrie's partners, they can't ride on the plane. But I'm like, Kyrie, if you go to Miami, your partners ain't going to be riding on the plane neither. And you know how I know that? Because LeBron's partners couldn't ride on the plane in Miami. And Kyrie's like, that's right. I won't have to deal with LeBron's partners on the plane in Miami. You see what I mean? Like, so is it really about receiving these privileges or being frustrated that LeBron received these privileges and nobody else did? And like, I don't know how to break this to you, man. Nobody going to treat you like you LeBron. Nobody is, right? So you're going to go to this new gig or whatever. If you think that being the man is what LeBron gets, oh, no. That's being LeBron. You get that for being LeBron. You don't get that for being Kyrie. Not yet. Not now.
How much of it also, in reference to the LeBron angle, does Kyrie want to play along with a star who sees himself as much as a star as Kyrie? Like LeBron, he doesn't look as Kyrie as his star level. They don't look. It's not the same.
That's a good question. Like, does Jimmy Butler think Kyrie's as good as him?
I think so. I think they're more comparable. Whereas I don't see LeBron saying Kyrie's on my level.
No, I understand. You're right. They are more comparable. I'm asking you, does Jimmy Butler see it that way? Does Jimmy Butler think Kyrie's as good as him? Or is Jimmy Butler looking at Kyrie like John Wall looks at Brad Beal? Right? Remember that? 1 and 1A, my sidekick.
But I think a pairing like that would be more conducive to what Kyrie wants.
He does not want to be little brother. He does not want to be. He does not want to be LeBron's little brother. That's what this is. Like, I feel like we put this on the context of wanting to shine or wanting the franchise. No, I just think he doesn't want to be LeBron's little brother. That's just all it is.
And to Kyrie's defense, like, he's accomplished enough where he shouldn't be considered or looked at as a little brother.
Yes. When?
I mean, he was on an Olympic team, right?
Yeah, right. That's what you have. The only thing we got there is the 2014 World Championships. No, he is LeBron. The only person who had accomplished enough to where he wouldn't be LeBron's little brother was Dwayne Wade in 2011. Like, at that point, after a while, even Dwayne Wade had to be like, all right, man, this is yours. You got it. But I'll say this over and over again, though. I also understand if you are Kyrie, you want the light. I just don't know if he's ready for everything that then comes with the light, because there's a level of scrutiny that's going to be paid to his game that's going to be even more than it's been the last 3 years. Because I thought that when LeBron came to the Cavs, as much as people love Kyrie, I thought they were going to watch Kyrie play more, and then they were going to have more to say about Kyrie's game. That they were going to pick Kyrie's game apart. And then at that point is when we looked at it and said, okay, we're not dealing with a great playmaker. We're dealing with a guy who doesn't play a lot of defense. We're dealing with a guy that can fill it up, but outside of filling it up, we don't really have that much. That's what happened with that scrutiny. That scrutiny is going to be even more if he decides he wants to leave LeBron. Can you think of anybody that's wanted to leave an ascendant winner? Like a team that was in a place that they were in. Like with Shaq, at least with Shaq there, Shaq left, but Shaq was like 32 years old or something like that when he had made that call. This is a young dude playing with a still great LeBron, and he wants to walk. This is uncommon. We don't have anything like this, right? I don't have a frame of reference or anything to point to. He's on the sort of team that a guy Kyrie's age often wants to get on. He's trying to get off. Hey, good luck, man. Good luck, because you'll get the money and you'll get a certain measure of the shine. But we'll see where you ultimately wind up. Like I say, maybe it's Miami for the strong organization, right? Like maybe he thinks Thibodeau's got the thing in Minnesota. He talked about wanting to go play in San Antonio. He going to want that until all of a sudden it's Saturday night, and the only thing he can find to do is eat Mexican food. Mexican food in San Antonio is the bomb. I don't know about nothing else. And you know what DJ Quick said? It's just like Compton. You ain't know that? Where does he say it was just like Compton? St. Louis? He said St. Louis was just like Compton, and he said that Oakland was just like Compton. All I'm saying is I don't really want to live any of those places. Kyrie, have fun in San... No, you're not going to San Antonio. By the way, Chauncey Billups will be on Mike and Mike tomorrow morning at 9:05 Eastern. 9:05 Eastern, Chauncey Billups will be on Mike and Mike. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Right fast, we talked about Lucky Whitehead a little bit earlier. Let's talk to Brandon from Georgia. Brandon, thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, you calling me Brandon? Now this Brent, man.
Dude, all I can do is read off the screen. You act like I'm the one that talked to you.
I know, man. I'm just kidding with you, man. It seems like it's been the week of it wasn't me. First you had got my man Lucky and my man from last week from Ole Miss, though I think they would probably be singing the Tyrone Davis version of It Wasn't Me. You didn't find my drawers beside nobody's bed. You didn't find my hat. I still got it here on my head. If you didn't see me, if you didn't touch me, it sure wasn't me.
You are too young to be giving Tyrone Davis lyrics, man.
Man, I'm an old school brother, man. You know, I'm from South Georgia.
Yeah, man.
But listen, I've had a situation in my past. Well, not my past, but I had a family member. We all have that family member in our family. And he got into a charge back in Alabama, and he had a brother who was significantly younger than him that lived in another state, and when they cited him, he gave his brother's name. So a few months later, that relative who lived in North Carolina found out he had a warrant for his arrest in Alabama because they gave the brother's name. But I just think that Mr. Lucky probably doesn't want to embarrass the family member's parents or something like that. But that has to be a family member if they know you that well.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me tell you this, Brett, because we're right up on the break. Hey, man, you want to do that, put a family member's name out there for your fake charge, that's fine. I wouldn't do it to the family member that makes more money than everybody. If that ain't hustling backwards, I don't know what is. All right. Hey, man, but Brett, I appreciate the call. Coming up next, can Robin turn into Batman if he is traded? We'll talk to Tom Haberstroh about that on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. That's the old soul song of the day. I'm so glad we did not use It Wasn't Me for Hugh Freeze last week because now it works for Lucky Whitehead except for the fact that it really wasn't him.
Question really quick on Shaggy, right? It Wasn't Me, has that surpassed Boombastic?
It has surpassed. I feel as though Boombastic is to It Wasn't Me as Off the Wall is to Thriller. Boombastic is better. It Wasn't Me is just a bigger hit. Boombastic is jamming. This is just kind of cute, right? All right, on the line with us, he covers the NBA for us here at ESPN. His name is Tom Haberstroh. Now, Tom, you wrote a really thorough piece about what Kyrie Irving as a basketball player is without LeBron James. And what conclusion did you reach?
Not nearly as good as reputation, Bomani. I mean, if you look at the numbers, and you look at the games where Kyrie Irving did not play with LeBron James in the last 3 years, the record is 4-13. He has lost about 80% of his games when he does not have LeBron James on his team playing for him. And, when you look in the history of LeBron James's career, he has made so many other players better and improved and raised their legacy. You talk about Mo Williams, you talk about Carlos Boozer or Chris Bosh. Dwayne Wade was already a champion before he got to play with LeBron James. But without LeBron, Kyrie Irving is not nearly the same player. I mean, he needs a guy like LeBron to take those, be a distributor, to run the offense when basically he can be guarded, with a couple guys. If you double team Kyrie, it makes things a lot more difficult because he's not a great passer. So when the Cavs actually have LeBron James and Kyrie Irving on the floor, they score 117 points per 100 possessions. But when you take LeBron away from that equation and just Kyrie is out there with Kevin Love, it drops from 117 to 103. Very mediocre offense with supposedly one of the best offensive players in the league. So I think Kyrie Irving, if he leaves LeBron James and tries to form his own team, I think that might be a mistake.
Now, how much of that, though, can be attributed to the fact that the team is built to function around LeBron's skills? Like, what do you think of that argument?
I mean, come on. It's not like that's not consistent with the skill set that you need to surround with Kyrie Irving. You look around the Cavs roster, it's a bunch of great shooters. And when you have a dribble drive guy, a one-on-one guy, you need great floor spacing. So they have a great pick-and-roll player with Tristan Thompson. Then you have Kevin Love out there with Kyrie Irving. Most players would love to have those kind of shooters like Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith at their disposal. So, I mean, this idea that the offense or the team is geared around LeBron James and not Kyrie Irving, like, we don't make that same excuse for other guys. When James Harden and Russell Westbrook carry their teams to the playoffs, like we acknowledge the fact that their rosters aren't necessarily geared for James Harden, especially for this year. Mike D'Antoni, of course, that offense is geared towards James Harden, but the year before that it wasn't, and that guy was a 500 team. With Kyrie Irving, he has not been a 500 player without LeBron James on the floor. So I don't buy that, and I also don't buy this whole idea like that Kyrie Irving is the perfect player to play next to LeBron James. You know who's also a perfect player to play next to LeBron James? Every player in NBA history. Like, that guy is really easy to play with because he covers up so many of the other players' weaknesses because he's just so good in just about everything.
All right, talking to Tom Haberstroh of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, a lot of us poke at Kyrie about the fact that he's not good defensively. Is too much made of that? Like, what do the numbers say about him as a defender?
Bomani, it's not pretty. 440th in the NBA among 468 players in defensive rating. I mean, he is the defensive RPM. It's not good defensively, and that's the issue is, like, you have to play a guy to hide him on the defensive end, and a lot of times, Tristan Thompson has to switch on those pick and rolls because Kyrie Irving is dying on those pick and rolls. If you watch him closely, he gives minimal effort on that end of the floor. So that's another thing. Like, if you have to build a roster around Kyrie Irving, you have to make sure that they're defensive guys who are willing to do that. And for superstars, we're talking like the Russell Westbrook, James Hardens of the world. Like, you have to be so good offensively and distribute and make up for it on the rebounds. But there are so many weaknesses in Kyrie Irving's game that I just don't think he's at that level. I think he's more in the Dame Lillard, Isaiah Thomas type level where it's a lot of scoring and not much else. And it's not the Kobe, it's not the Russell Westbrook, it's not the James Harden. He's not, in my opinion, an MVP in waiting. I think he's more on that second tier of point guards. And without LeBron James, I don't think that'd be a question. I think it would be Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, and Isaiah Thomas on the same tier.
Well, do you think that the difficulty for people on this is just that Kyrie is so damn fun to watch?
Yes. I mean, he's so good one-on-one, and it's just in team basketball, you need more than that to be a winner consistently. Like, you can hit a game-winning shot, and that Game 7 shot was just about as good as you'll find in NBA history. But you can't lean on that for a player value going forward. Like, that shot is in history. It's great. It's done. But going forward, I think the risk here is that he's Stephon Marbury, where he's flashy, he's cool, but ultimately, I think you want more than that from your superstar.
All right, that is Tom Haberstroh. Check him out, covering the NBA for us here at ESPN. Got a really thorough deep dive on Kyrie Irving online at ESPN.com. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
You got it, Bo.
All right, now, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. And coming up next, Carmelo really want to go play in Oklahoma City? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. My man Pablo Torre joining me for another segment. I'll be doing First Take tomorrow with Pablo, and we'll be on Thursday. You excited?
I am excited. I've been thinking of questions to ask Adrian Broner. And are we trying to engineer like a viral stunt? Is that the upside here?
I would not say we. If you would like to engage in that, you are more than welcome. We ought to run that by him at that 7:30 meeting, right?
Yeah, there might be a call to HR, actually.
Yeah, well, the issue is that whether we want a viral stunt or not has nothing to do with whether there will be one. That decision is entirely in the hands of Adrian Broner, and it would not shock me in the least if Adrian Broner himself wanted a viral stunt.
Live television. Not tape television. Live television.
We will be there. Now, I brought you in here as you are a New Yorker of sorts. I think you have some interest in the Knicks. That's what you guys tend to have.
Ancestrally. Yes. I was born and raised in Manhattan in the 30s, right in the same zone as Madison Square Garden. So
yeah,
I wear this. Maybe not as heavily as Shannon wears it these days, but
nah, Shannon was wearing it as a badge of honor because he left New York, so he had to show his New Yorkness by hitching his wagon to those losers.
Brooklyn, son.
There it is. Now, here we go. Bill Simmons sent a tweet that said, have a scoop. OKC and Carmelo are officially circling each other, which would imply that Carmelo had some interest in going to Oklahoma City. And I want to know what a blow to the New York self-esteem it would be, even though y'all don't want Melo to be around, if he said, keep your big city, I'm trying to go to OKC, which is a city only because it says it is a city in its name, Oklahoma City.
So La really isn't a factor anymore, huh?
That was my first thought. My immediate thought when I found this out
that was all we had to go on, right? We had only so many anchors in the untrustworthy sea that is Carmelo Anthony, and that was La wanted to be in a big city.
Right.
That's all I knew.
That was my thought, that he has absolutely waved the white flag on getting her back. Like that was the thought I had right there.
And so the secondary notion beyond, of course, the inferiority complex that the city of New York, the city so nice they named it twice, is developing, is that Carmelo Anthony now will be the third best player on a contending team. That's what he's comfortable with?
He would be the third best player on a contending team, but if he were to go there, I mean, that's a legitimate contender for the West, right?
I think it makes them a top 5 team easily, and then you get into are they better than the Warriors? No. Are they better than the Spurs? Well, it gets interesting, depending on what iteration of the Spurs we see.
Well, hold on. We say top 5. The Thunder were top 6 last year, right? Utah lost Gordon Hayward, so I feel like we can immediately say that they would be better than Utah was. The Clippers lost Chris Paul.
Yes.
Okay, suddenly you have now jumped to 4th. Now we're talking about Houston with Chris Paul, and then we talk about the Spurs, who haven't done very much this year because I guess they decided they're going to look at next year because I think LaMarcus Aldridge might decide that he would like to go somewhere else, and they would be like, what a great idea.
Right. Okay, so now we're talking ourselves into them being the second best team in the West, potentially.
Okay, and we are also now saying that they would be a team with Russell Westbrook at the point, 2 elite wing defenders with Paul George and Andre Robertson. Carmelo, who is actually a very good catch-and-shoot player and has been a much better efficiency offensive player than he's given credit for. A couple years ago, he had like 27 points a game or 47% shooting or something like that.
Sounds about right.
Right, that's not bad. So they would be a pretty good defensive team because Adams is pretty good at rim protection and all of that stuff. I mean, that team would be interesting. Now, I don't know what in the world they could give up in order to get Melo.
I love how we're now just assembling all the guys who didn't want to play the 4 together.
Right. Someone has to play the 4, right?
Right. Someone has to. And I guess the other question is, does Carmelo Anthony become the version of Carmelo Anthony that we've seen on Team USA?
Yes.
Does this unlock? Does Hoodie Melo, Hoodie in a gym on Instagram Melo, does he become in the NBA Team USA Melo, who is somehow the most popular player among superstars?
Right, but no one has demonstrated, we're talking to Pablo Torre of ESPN, no one has demonstrated to me that the Knicks were really hurt by Melo being the Melo that we have seen. Who was he supposed to pass the ball to? Like, it's interesting that as much as people rejected the triangle from Phil Jackson, they got mad at Melo for rejecting the triangle, even though everyone else was rejecting the triangle.
Yeah, once Carmelo Anthony got there, there really wasn't much for Carmelo Anthony to do other than be Carmelo Anthony, because we all agreed, speaking of this test, can he be the best player on a championship team? Yeah, Carmelo Anthony's not going to be that guy, but could he be the third? Could be the third best in Oklahoma City?
Right.
That's a lot more plausible.
Yeah, well, my greatest frustration in a lot of the way that Melo has been dealt with and received since he has been with the Knicks is the Knicks got him, and they knew exactly what he was when they got him. And, I think they misunderstood. They thought they were getting a superstar, and they weren't. They were getting Carmelo Anthony. But then from there, once he was your best player, everything had to be built around what he did best. And they kept trying to be like, hey, Melo, so you've been in the league for 8-9 years. We'd like you to be an entirely different person than the one that made us want to get you in the first place.
Right. Although I will say it is fascinating that the best year the Knicks have had with Carmelo Anthony was that one year when Mike Woodson was the coach and Carmelo Anthony was shooting threes as a 4.
Yes.
That was the best team. That was the best one they got.
But it was also a lot of Melo ISO.
It was. It was. And of course, I mean, Mike Woodson is Mr. ISO Joe, so that's not entirely surprising.
Yes, and as much as people don't, for everything you do or don't have to say about Mike Woodson, he was a much better coach in New York than Mike D'Antoni was, the genius that we hail now that he is in Houston, the meager success that the Knicks have had in the last however many years. Mike Woodson got more of that than just about anybody else. Shannon over there looking like he got PTSD.
No, back to that year and defending Melo, he did play with a bunch of pros, too. I mean, they were older guys, but Jason Kidd was on that team. Rasheed Wallace was on that team.
Really? Oh, my God. Rasheed Wallace was absolutely on that team, and I remember because I was covering that team for the magazine.
Camby. Yeah, so, Melo, he was the best player, but he didn't have to be leader guy.
Right.
My story about Rasheed Wallace being a Knick is that I walked up to him before some game to talk to him about how good the Knicks suddenly were, and I said, "Excuse me, Sheed, do you have a second?" And he said, "Nope." And I walked away. Love that guy. Still, in spite of that. Love that guy.
I got what she wants. He cool.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but he is the best.
We're talking to Pablo Torre of ESPN Magazine. I'm just trying to think of Melo, like Melo in Oklahoma City, right? Where's Melo going to be kicking it in Oklahoma City? Like, I don't feel like he's really thought this out. Is Melo trying to generate some level of leverage? Like, is this all a play? Like, I don't get this.
All I know is that whenever I'd read these stories, these glowing stories about Kevin Durant embracing the community, it always involved Kevin Durant being this attraction for people to come to, like, bars and restaurants in the area.
Yes.
I don't think Carmelo Anthony is going to be the guy spinning the sign on the corner being like, hey, come check this place out.
Come to Old Charlie's, 2-for-1 appetizers. Like, I do remember once when they first put that team together, somebody did a story about it, and I forget which player it was that was like, we don't really have that much to do here. Right. I just can't think of any worse place in the league to be young and rich.
There is I've been mentioning this and have gotten so many people from Oklahoma City mad at me for mentioning it, but there was a factory that produced dog food near the practice facility of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that permeated the air. The methane gases of dog food floated in the atmosphere. So this is more than just an abstract, seems like a small town kind of place. This is a real-life dog food plant overshadowing the practice court.
Oh, my mother's from Oklahoma City. I have a fondness for Oklahoma City, certainly. She left in 1960 and never came back. That's all I got for you. And she's like, part of local history. Nope. So if Melo wants to go there, that would be such a big one for Sam Presti to be able to say, like, if they got Melo to go there and somehow got him to say, I want to spend the rest of my career here, like, I feel like that would be such a win for them. Such a win for them.
And I credit Sam Presti because as an executive, we know that he is sometimes risk-seeking, and certainly the Paul George window tells you that, okay, time to make a move now, but convincing Carmelo, not extracting Carmelo by force, but convincing him, that is sales. That is a sales job that I did not know was in the powers of Sam Presti should this go through.
All right, that's Pablo Torre. We will both be on First Take Wednesday and Thursday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Also, he and I will be doing a television show that will air January 2nd, 2018. Don't ask us the name. Don't ask us what it's about. All we know is we got each other.
That's all we got in this world, man.
Yeah, man. I'll talk to you so bad. All right, now 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, catch you up on what you haven't heard today and how LeBron needs to stop all that subtweeting. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Tom Haberstroh of ESPN for joining us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. Also, thanks to Pablo Torre of ESPN for joining us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour and the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Thanks to David Rich, the agent for Lucky Whitehead, for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. And thanks to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast, available on the ESPN app. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. All right, Shannon, what we miss out on today?
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, so LeBron James is none too pleased with the assumption that he was the one responsible for the Kyrie Irving trade demands to being leaked. If you haven't heard, here's Bomani Jones earlier today on The Right Time discussing the latest round of the Kyrie versus LeBron James saga.
See, here's the problem with LeBron. LeBron is in the same place as other passive-aggressive people who just don't seem to understand this. Once you start kicking that as your steez, where you were sending all these subliminal messages and everything else, I can't take anything you say at face value, right? Like, so I just happened to be listening to Meek Mill, and he had a song that happened to seem to add up and speak directly to the life that I'm living right now, but that is purely a coincidence. I didn't tell Meek to put out an album. Yeah, okay. Okay, buddy. Like, whatever you say. Like, I feel like that's where LeBron is on this one, is wherever you say. And what I am surprised by is I would think, at least at this point, he would be fully aware of the fact there's nothing you can do to win at this point. All you can do is let this story play out. Like, if you and your people want to do back channel stuff, cool, go ahead and do that. But there's nothing that you're going to do in front of people that's going to win for you. There's nothing you're going to say out here that anybody's going to believe. Nobody is going to believe that you did not leak this. Like, I don't know whether he leaked it or not, but nobody is going to believe it because you said you didn't do it. Like, I don't think there's one person that's out there that's like, well, you know, I got to be honest with you, man. I thought he had leaked it, but then he said he didn't, and I was like, okay, LeBron wouldn't lie to me. Nah, I mean, I could totally see it like LeBron, like, no, I didn't leak that. Why would I ever leak anything? I mean, why would I want to go out of my way to say something that was absolutely true? Like, I mean, like you that dude. What dude? That dude. That's it. So now I guess what are we going to do? We're just going to sit around and wait for Kyrie to be traded? Like, how many days are we going to give this story before we give up on the idea that Kyrie is going to be traded right away? Because Kyrie is going to have to be traded, and we don't really have that much to talk about. Can we get like a clock or something? Should we start a pool? Can we do that where we sell squares and you decide when it is that Kyrie is going to be traded, as we all understand that he must be traded, but we don't really have a great idea of when that is actually going to be? Can we start a pool? Because I feel like it would be highly entertaining if we did.
All right, I just checked the waiver wire, and Kyrie still hasn't been traded yet. So I just wanted to update you on that. I don't know if you were concerned. So
good to know.
Okay. All righty. Unfortunate news here for Phoenix Suns guard Brandon Knight. He tore his ACL last week during a Pro-Am game in Miami. He will miss the entire season.
Damn.
All right, what's worse for Brandon Knight?
Getting dunked off by DeAndre Jordan?
Let me at least set it up.
Nope, there's no need to set it up. There's no need to set it up. Because everybody heard he tore an ACL, and they're like, at least he didn't get knocked out the sky by DeAndre Jordan. Because the only way they get knocked out the sky by DeAndre Jordan could have been worse is if he tore his ACL.
All right, you are, of course, up here in Bristol today doing The Right Time. And last week, my family moved up here as well, and my wife actually saw a bear. A bear walked up to the car and ran across the street. And apparently there was another bear that was seen in the neighborhood today. So we'll go to our main man, Nuno, with some bear information, because I need to know about this stuff in the event I woke up on a bear.
All right, first and foremost, disclaimer, don't try any of these. We are not responsible. If
Did you go to legal before we did this?
No, but I probably will be there tomorrow. All right, so how to survive a black bear attack. Carry bear pepper spray. Number 2, stand your ground and make lots of noises. It says that bears usually like to bluff that they're going to attack. So if you show that you mean business, they may just lose interest. Number 3, don't climb a tree. 4, fight back. If you actually fight back, the bear will usually just give up.
No. Just say that out loud. Fight back. Fight a bear. Fight a bear. No, I'm taking my chances. They tell you not to climb a tree, and I understand that bears can climb trees, but I'm taking my chances. I'm running.
I'm going with number 5. I'm going back to New York on Thursday. There might be rats, but it ain't no bears.
And also in Bristol Musings, along the hallway here, we have several posters from all the hosts and shows, right?
Yeah.
And Bomani, there was an official Right Time with Bomani Jones picture that was proudly displayed outside the studio that you're in right now. Until today, for some odd reason, when that poster was covered up by Carrie Champion's podcast poster.
Like it was a cover? I thought it was replaced.
No, it was covered up. It was actually covered up, which made it even funnier.
They didn't even put in the effort to take it down and maybe send it to me to keep it in my house. They just put Carrie on top of me. That's all they did.
I'm sure you appreciate that because I thought they replaced it as well. But nope. We have an update. Your picture's back up there now, so I think they're going to cover up somebody
else's. And now it looks like I was demanding my picture go back up, and that wasn't even it. So I can't win here. The levels of flagrant disrespect that are exacted against me when I'm not around, I personally thought that we were a little bit better than this. I was just jealous because I was living in Miami. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this every weekday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Shannon Nuno, Cat, thanks so much. Jalen Jacoby with Jeff Dickerson is coming up next.
Thanks for listening to The Right Time podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.